where does a man go to be able to just take that burden off of their shoulder for a moment and be able to feel the relief of not having to wear that burden?
Finding the
necessarily or this is what I find important for me.
So all of us have some kind of story about who we are. As much as it starts with you, remember it starts with me.
What's going on, everybody? It's me, Joel Simmons, back again for another It Starts With Me. Brotherhood. What is it all about? Trust, brotherhood. These are two things that are so deeply ingrained with one another. Have you ever felt as if the weight of the world was on your shoulders? I mean, it was like no matter what you did, you had to bear the burden of everything. Your family, your wife, your kids, the bills, whatever it was. Work at your job. If anything went wrong, it was all on you. And it's like, where does a man go to be able to just take that burden off of their shoulder for a moment and be able to feel the relief of not having to wear that burden? You're going to enjoy this show today because today we're going to talk about brotherhood. So, brotherhood. When I started to think about brotherhood, the first thing that comes to my mind is a scripture, Psalms 133. How good and how pleasant it is for brethren to dwell together in unity. When I think about that scripture, I began to see unity of being with somebody who's like me. It's hard to find somebody who's like you. We get married and we hope that our wife is a lot like us, but it's not always so. We have children and we raise them to the best that we can, but our children aren't our friends. We're not bound together, and we cannot discuss the things that cause us to feel as if the world is caving in on us. So what is a man to do? That's when I think about this scripture. I think about it because, I'm a man, and I've definitely been in the scenario, in the situation where there's too much heat in the kitchen, but I cannot leave. I've got to stay. What will happen if I don't stay? I must stay and I must see this thing through. I have to see the troubled times through. I have to overcome the mountain of obstacles. I have to forge through the valley of despair. I have to be there in order to raise my children the right way, in order to love my wife and prove to her my love each and every day. I have to hold my household up, keep my bills paid, make sure my lights are on, make sure there's food on the table because I am the chief provider. There's no space in time for me to be able to break down and cry. And if I were to break down and cry, who would be there to pat me on my back? Whose lap would I lay my head down on? Who would tell me it's going to be okay? Days are over of having my mother to be by my side as she groomed me while I grew. No, now it's time for a man to be a man. Days are over for me to look my father in the eye. See, even with that, some of us men didn't always have that ability to look your dad in the eye at the age of 12 or 13. Because don't get me wrong, that is a very important time for a young man to look his father in the eyes and to see what his father is going through, to be able to make things happen. At the age of 12 and 13, a young man is stepping into understanding the things that are happening according to family dynamics. He's seeing it right then. He's being forged. That's why a brotherhood is so important. It's important because I have the opportunity to gain strength so that when I go to my home, when I go to my job, I may be alone, but I have the strength of my family with me. According to the book of Proverbs, the 27th Proverbs, 17th verse says, iron sharpeneth iron. See, in this, we learn that a man can assist his friend. Iron sharpeneth iron. It teaches me as much as I can teach my brother can teach me. I don't have to be a dull sword fighting in the battlefield of life. Because don't get me wrong, life can be like a battlefield. Sometimes when I exit out of my home, my residence, to go and to be a part of the world, to ensure that I can bring back the provision that is necessary for my home, I feel as if I have to fight my way out and fight my way back in because there's obstacles all around. I have a friend of mine. He went out to work, and when he returned home, he had no job. Imagine a conversation with his wife. And I don't have to speak from the perspective of a friend of mine, but I've gone to a job and not gotten paid for 3 months as we awaited for the grant money to drop. Needless to say, I left that avenue of work. A brotherhood makes a big difference. And I encourage every man out there to find his group of brothers, his band of soldiers, because the time comes when we need a shoulder to lean on. And as I said, in the male perspective group that we have in the gathering, when I'm low, I'm not looking for somebody to cry with me, give me some kind of hug. I need strength. Tell me the words that'll fortify me. Look me in my eyes and give me the words that will help me to be stronger. See, because the difference with the man is that we're not always looking for a shoulder to cry on. It's not to say that a man won't cry, but it's to say, I'm not going somewhere to cry. I'm going somewhere to be fortified, to be enlightened, to be sharpened. I'm going somewhere to be corrected, reproven, to be taught, to be strengthened. I'm going somewhere. And where I go needs to be a place where I'm accepted. So brotherhood is important. And in order for there to be brotherhood, there must be trust. Because if there's anyone among us that is untrusted, then I will not share the issues of my heart. You see, a brotherhood is necessary because it gives a man an opportunity to give the issues of his heart, to not worry about if the tear does drop. A brotherhood is necessary because weakness in his home can cause the house to fold. He must remain strong, at least up until the point that his wife and him are on such an accord. For without that accord, without that oneness, without that solitude of walking in solace, irregardless of the situation, then weakness can cause atrophy. And I encourage every man to communicate well with his wife until he's able to fortify that type of relationship. As for the brotherhood, find your trusted men, those who are able to hear a word and never speak it again. It's necessary. I leave with you another scripture. It's out of the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 4, verse 9 through 12. And it says, 2 are better than 1, because they have a good reward for their labor. For if they fall, the one will lift up his fellow. But woe to him that is alone when he falleth, for he hath not another to help him up. And if one prevail against him, 2 shall withstand him. And a threefold cord is not quickly broken. Brothers, there's no need to feel as if we are islands in this world. In togetherness and consistency, we can develop victory. We can share the lessons of life. We can teach one another how we traverse the mountain of obstacles, how we forge through the valley of despair, how we swam the river of sorrows. We have the ability to teach each one another. And in the course of this, through the process of this, iron sharpens iron. We become better, we become stronger, we become wiser. And we do it together. I encourage you all to come join me in the gathering, where you have the opportunity to possibly find your brotherhood and fellowship with me. No matter where you are, no matter what you're going through, as much as it starts with me, it starts with you. And as much as it starts with you, it starts with me. God bless.
This is what I find important for me.
So all of us have some kind of shared on who we are. As much as it starts with you, remember it starts with me.